Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be creating a little bit of my own take on the Eileen haul. This one is the passport book, and the item number is 660331. So let me quickly show you my little variation on this. So instead of using the two styles of binding options that the die itself provides, I've decided to go a little bit different because I am really getting into not necessarily doing, but learning about different ways to do stitch binding. And this was my first attempt at a technique called buttonhole stitch binding, and it's the simplest one that I saw that I thought I could manage, and it really is simple, and I was able to do it, and I think it turns out pretty cute. And these are just really simple notebooks. They make for really great gifts if you know somebody who likes to always have something to write with, because it's a nice size. It's you can put it in your purse, you can leave it by your bedstand. I like to have one on my nightstand because sometimes I have ideas at night and it's nice to have something to just quickly jot it down. So they're really great, pretty simple stitching, and I think they make for great gifts as well. So before I actually show you how to create that, I want to sort of do like a mini haul, because currently a lot of these journals, notebooks, mini albums, a lot of these bigs, the steel rule dies are newly clearanced on the Sizzix website. And so I just want to quickly show you some of the things that I picked up in case you're like me and you've been eyeing a lot of these and just waiting for a good opportunity to buy them. This one, well, don't quote me on it, but I'm positive that all of the big dies that I purchased were under $20. I think that this one was maybe in the $18 range, and as well, I got the Eileen haul wrapped journal. This was, I think, in the $18-19 range, and I think they normally retail for something like $40 or $50. So it is a very significant discount, and it's at a price that I've just never seen it at. So I thought it was a good time to pick it up. I also picked up these two, which are big dies for traveler's notebooks. This one is designed by Katelyn Lizardi, and this one is the traveler's notebook cover. And the companion to that is this one, which I guess is co-designed by Lynda, Kanase, and Katelyn Lizardi. And this one's the Traveler's Notebook pages and pockets. So you would use this one, the cover, to create your Traveler's Journal cover. And it's not just the cover, it's got pockets that you can use on both the cover and your inserts. And it's got things like pen loops and little tags and things like that. So it's more than just the cover. And then similarly with the pages and pockets, you get the pages that you can insert into your cover, and then you have a couple of different pocket styles, and then this is a nice little belly band that you can use as a tuck spot as well. So I've got these four, picked up these four big dies. I also picked up this one, which is Lynda Kanase's mini album die set. This is a Thinlits die set. She does have a Big's mini album die that I actually just recently posted a notepad project that I made using her Big's version of the mini album. But this one was on sale for, I think, under $10, maybe $7 or something like that. And it's really cute. It's not only got your pages, but it has little tags, little arrows, banners, tabs, that you can put. So a lot of fun ways to accessorize and decorate your pages. And I think these would be really good for things like traveler's notebooks and stuff like that too. So just wanted to show those. There is one Biggs die that I'm waiting to go on sale. So I bought this a while ago when it was on clearance, and this is the Katelyn Lizardi Traveler's Notebook inserts. She has a Biggs die that is for die cutting the cover for these inserts. So similar to her other one, there's a Biggs die for the cover, but the difference is with the companion die set, with this style, it's a Thinlits, whereas with the other one, it's a Biggs die. The cover Biggs die for this isn't on sale yet, though, so I haven't picked that one up. Still waiting on that one. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started on creating one of the passport books. So I'm going to start off by cutting down some paper for my page signatures. So I'm just using regular computer paper. I'm cutting these in stacks of 5 sheets at a time. And I'm just cutting it in half along the 11-inch side. So I'll have a piece that's going to be 5.5 by 8.5. And again, these are stacks of 5 sheets. And my computer paper is really lightweight. I think it's only 20-pound text weight. So how many sheets you can fit into a signature will just depend on your preference, how thick your paper is, what you're using this book for, and all of that good stuff. So one of the things that I found with my particular sandwich combination is that I do need a cardstock shim. On the Biggs die, even though the die itself is extra long, you probably could just use a regular size cutting plate because I'll be cutting this in sections. On this one end here is the section for your pages, and the page itself will end up measuring 3.25 inch wide by 4.75 inches high. So you can take those measurements and just determine how to cut down your paper. So I am going to end up with a little section that's a waste, but since this is just, computer paper, I don't mind having that bit of waste. But if you were die cutting, let's say watercolor paper, you might want to cut down your paper to fit a little bit more closely the size of the pages. And if you do get paper stuck in those little holes, my recommendation is to pick those out after every die cutting, just because if you let it accumulate in those little holes, they can get rather compacted and it can be a little bit hard to pick out later. So now I'm just going to fold and score or burnish my page signatures. So again, these are 5 sheets of paper, die cut on the Biggs die, and then now I'm going to fold in half and just burnish. So in total, I'm going to have 12 page signatures, and that's a lot of pages. So this is going to be a nice chunky book, great for taking notes and whatnot. The next section we'll work on is the spine and cover pieces. So I've already die cut the spine, but I do want to mention that what I did with my spine was I glued together one piece of cardstock, a layer of Tyvek, and then another layer of cardstock. And the Tyvek, this little Tyvek sandwich makes the spine durable and strong, especially since we're going to be cutting into it. But even if I weren't cutting into it, I would still use the Tyvek because this is going to be your spine, which will probably get flexed, back and forth a lot. And so that Tyvek will just help to strengthen and make your notebook more durable. So the cover, what I did to prepare was I have one layer of pattern paper. I have 2 layers of 120-pound paper, and then another layer of 65-pound cardstock. The reason why I'm using a couple layers of 120-pound white cardstock in the center instead of something like mat board or chipboard is because mat board tends to be pretty thick, and for such a small notebook, I didn't think that I wanted it that thick. Same with my chipboard. I only have the heavyweight stuff right now, and so I thought that this was something kind of nice in between, so that it's not overly thick, but still feels nice and substantial and sturdy as a cover. So I'm just going to reinforce the score lines that were already put in place with the die. And now I'm going to make my cut, because with the buttonhole stitch binding, you need to cut out from your spine a rectangular sort of gap. And all I'm going to do is sort of connect the dots, so to speak. So the die already cuts these circles, which you would use if you wanted to stitch your signatures straight into the spine, but I'm just using it as a guide for cutting out the rectangle that I'll need. And so I'll just continue to cut all the way around, and I'm lining up my steel ruler with the edge of those circles. So when you're done, you'll have this rectangle completely cut out from your spine. So you could use a craft knife if you wanted. If you have a trimmer that you can drop in and cut in the middle, you could do that as well. I'm going to use embroidery thread to do my binding. I think there is very specific thread that's recommended for book binding. I think it's linen thread or something like that. I don't have that, so I just want to use up what I do have. To estimate how long of a section of thread you need, what you can do is just wrap front and back the sort of that top section of your spine, and that's going to be enough for one signature. Then you just want to count out for as many signatures as you plan to have in your book. You just want to sort of just use that length to estimate. So in my case, I've got 12, so I'll do that for 12 times, and then I'll give myself an extra length because you'll need a little bit extra to tie off the ends of your thread. So if your book is 12 signatures like mine is, I just give myself an extra 2 or 3 signatures worth of length just to do my tying off. So to start, you want to pick up one of your signatures, flip to the center, and then from the inside of your signature, start your thread there. And leave yourself a little bit of a tail so that you can tie off and anchor that end. Go through the spine, through that gap that we cut in the spine. Then you want to wrap that around the front of your spine, over the top. And what's cool about this spine design is that it does have the notches at the top, which give you the option to do a more traveler's notebook style of binding. But I found that it was a cool way to sort of gather my threads. So I'm going to gather 4 signatures into each of these notches. So I brought my thread over to the inside of my book, and then I just tied off with that tail that we left at the beginning. So now our needle and thread are on the inside. Then you just want to go through the exact same hole to the outside. And so now our thread is on the outside of our book. You want to close down your first signature and bring on your next signature. And from here, the rest of the stitching is going to be the same. From the outside, you want to go into the hole right through to the center of your signature. Pull that through, but don't pull it tight. Leave yourself this little loop here. Now you're on the inside, you want to come around over the top and then through the loop that you left yourself. So you can see that I'm piercing my needle, and this needle isn't sharp. It's just a nice large needle that's easy to hold and thread through. So once you have that going through that loop that you left, then you can just go ahead and pull that nice and taut. You don't want to pull it so tightly that it's crushing your spine in any way, but you do want it to be nice and snug so that your signature is well secured. So then you just continue to do that. Close your previous signature, bring on the next one. I like to open it up to the center just to make sure I'm going through all the way to the center. From the outside, I'm going to go right through my signature, leaving a little loop. Then from the inside, I'm going to wrap around over the top, back to the front, and then I'm going to go through my loop. And if you tightened it too much and you lost your loop, you can always just pull that back up again. So don't worry if you do happen to tighten it too much. Until you've gotten a few stitches down, you can still sort of find that loop. So that was our third signature. I'll get my fourth signature in the exact same way. So you're always starting, when you bring on a new signature, you're always starting from the outside and going in. And you can just adjust where your thread ends up. The pink notebook that I showed at the beginning, that only had 9 signatures. And then this one I'm making and the orange spine one that I showed earlier have 12. So 4 signatures in one of these notches seems to be about the max that you can really fit. So I think it makes for a really nice chunky notebook. So I'll show how it looks when you kind of move on to the next notch. You're going to do the exact same thing, but here, instead of looping the top of my thread through that first notch, I'm having it rest at the middle notch. And so for the next 4 signatures, I'll use that middle notch and continue to work my way through. And then on my last 4 signatures, I'll loop my thread through on that final notch at the top of the spine. Normally, if you were to sort of die cut or cut your own spine and you don't have these notches, then you could just space out your thread however you like, going all the way across your spine. But I kind of like that this Big's die has the notches because it makes it become like a really decorative aspect of this binding technique. And so I just think it kind of makes it a design feature, even though it is also just practicality how all of your page signatures are staying within your book. But that's why when I saw this die and how it cuts out, I thought it would be perfect for trying out the buttonhole stitching. Okay, so to end up with your last stitch, go ahead and bring your needle back inside on your last signature. So we ended on the outside and I'm bringing it back inside. I looped it around my thread and I'm just going to do a double knot just to tie that off so that it's nice and secure. And I'm not going to cut that off just yet. I'm going to leave that and you'll see why in a bit. So now we just need to repeat that whole thing on the opposite end. So once you've done this 1 or 2 times, you'll just try some different orientations for how to hold and what order, whether it's back to front, front to back, to see what's comfortable for you. I'm still really new at this. It's literally the 3rd time I've done it. And so I'm no expert. So I'm, not sure yet what's most comfortable for me. But one thing that I thought would be neat is just to tie off my front and back ending threads. That's totally optional, but I'm going to show the whole button stitching again. So on your first starting stitch, you want to start on the inside, loop that around, and then tie off. Now, for subsequent stitches, you want to bring that needle back through that same hole to the outside. Then from the outside, you want to go into the next page signature. Leave yourself a little bit of a loop so that when you pull through, you pull your needle right through that loop. Now, my loop got a little twisted, so that's one thing that you might want to be cognizant of is if your loop becomes twisted, no problem, just pull your thread out and loop it through again. And so you just want to keep on doing that for each signature. So start from the outside and loop through and just work your way across until you have all of your signatures sewn into your spine. So you could use whatever type of paper you like, and if you're using thicker paper like watercolor paper or something like that, then you may not be able to fit as many pages as I have done here. But because it is a big sty, you should be able to cut through a multitude of thicknesses because it is able to cut through multiple layers. Just be careful though, because when you die cut your pages, it does put a score line in the center. So if you stack it too much, that scoring blade on the big sty might cut through your page signature. So just be careful not to overly stack your papers when you go to die cut your pages. So now all we have to do is just attach our covers and we're done. So the stitching aspect of this is probably the longest part of this whole project, because with the big sty, since we basically attached all of our pretty papers to our covers, all I need to do is now glue the covers to the spine. And so I just put red tape. Usually I would use score tape, but I'm trying to use up all my red line tape because I don't plan to buy more of it. I just want to finish up what I've got. And even though I am using a dry adhesive, I also use liquid adhesive too, just to make sure that it's a nice, strong, permanent bond. And whatever adhesive you do plan to use, just make sure that you're burnishing really well. But to be honest, between putting tape all the way at the edge of your cover and putting a line of tape all the way at the edge of your spine, that will give you full coverage of adhesive on that complete hinge there. And that's our book complete. So here are the 3 books that I've made so far. If you have the Crafter's Companion kits, you may recognize these papers because they are leftover scraps from the projects that I made using those kits. But you can see the difference here. The top one has 9 signatures and the orange and purple one have 12. So I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and if you want to catch new videos as they get posted, feel free to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Thank you so much, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!